Hey guys, Andrew here. Just wanted to quickly do a video to share with you my bikes that I've had throughout my riding career. So I started riding back in 2003, quite a long time ago now, 13 years it's been. And my first bike was a not your typical usual first bike, but it was a Ducati Monster 620IE, a Ducati 620IE Monster, and it was a beautiful piece of machinery that I fell in love with. Like, I've never ever loved a bike or anything in that, any object before. Well, I did like my soft ride quite a lot, but that's another story. This motorbike was just brilliant. I am so glad that it was my first bike because it's quite a unique bike. There's not many of them running around here in Australia. It's a Ducati. It has that beautiful sound. And so that was my very first bike. It had carbon fiber high-rise exhaust on it. It just was the bee's knees, and I paid a lot for it, but I didn't care because it was beautiful. I sort of was not riding it much for a little while, so I decided to sell it, and I literally cried when I sold that bike. Then I had a little break with bikes, and I ended up buying my first big bike, which was a Honda CBR 1100 Blackbird. It was the 1997 Carby version, the one that did hold the record for the fastest production bike in 1997, and that motorbike was a weapon. It was just beautiful. I loved having that wind, like after the Monster, having that sort of wind buffering on a big sports tourer. That was just brilliant. And I did do quite a few sort of 300-400k rides back to Brisbane from where I was living out in the bush, and that was just the best bike for it. I loved that Blackbird. Again, got to a point where I wasn't riding it because there's not many twisties out in the bush, and my mates had stopped riding, so I got rid of it. And yeah, was motorbikeless for a little while. Alright, a few years after that, the bug bit again, and I ended up buying my second Ducati Monster, which was a red 620IE again. It had a lot of Ks on it at the time. I remember thinking it had 35,000 Ks when I bought it, and I remember thinking, oh my god, 35,000 kilometers on a bike, that's just massive. I've now got a Blackbird that has 98,000 on it or something. But anyway, at the time I was just like blown away at how many Ks it had done. This Monster had a bit of a history. It had gone around Australia as a tourer, lady owner. Beautiful red color, Ducati quality, beautiful. Took it home, and just by that stage I was really into the whole retro bike look again, because I had gone away from that. But then I really wanted to sort of have a bike that had that sort of retro, different sort of cafe racery style to it. So I got a spray can and I spray painted the bike, and I got a 1980s Ducati logo sticker, and I put that on the side, and it was beautiful. I loved that bike, absolutely loved it. So again, moved somewhere else, and then this time I did want to ride my bike, but I was very, very busy with work. I changed careers to a much more sort of time-consuming job, so I ended up selling my second Ducati Monster because I, again, just wasn't riding it. So there's no point sitting in the garage. Whoever bought that off me got an absolute bargain, but so be it. These things happen. For a little while there, after my second Monster, I owned a little Yamaha Jog. We're not going to talk about that for long. Then I moved again and had a little bit more time. I changed careers again, and because this time I had a bit more time, I wanted to buy a bike again. I just wanted a cheap bike just to get back on, because I had about a year and a half of not riding, and I ended up finding a Hyosung, don't laugh, a Hyosung GT250R 2010 model, and I picked it up for a bargain, absolute bargain price, and it was a good little bike. It was just a perfect bike to get me back into riding. And the GT250R, it's a full-size bike, but a 250 engine, and that to me was just like, yep, that's what I want. I want a full-size bike, but 250, sort of get back into riding, and and it was just perfect for that. So I had that for a little while. I ended up selling it off recently. Then I ended up buying another Hyosung, because at that point I didn't really have any issues with my first Hyosung. So I was quite confident at buying another Hyosung because I didn't have any problems with it. So I found another one, again at a very good price. It was a cafe racer, it had clip-ons, had the exhauster being caught out, so it sounded awesome with that V-twin layout. It was just a nice little bike, but it, sorry, it wasn't a little bike, it was a big bike. 650 was, you know, a decent sort of talky bike. It started having problems. I tried to fix it, I couldn't fix it. I got the shits with it, so it's now gone. I've sold it off, and a bit of charity work there. Someone got a bit of a bargain, but that's okay. The third bike I then bought after that was a little cruiser, and it's also a Hyosung. So at one point in my life, I have the shameful fact that I owned 3 Hyosungs at the one time. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. It was a Aquila GV250, and it's probably the best sort of overall bike that Hyosung have made to this date. The GV250 was a single seat little 250 cruiser, again bigger than Hyosung have this habit of making like good looking bikes. I think they're good looking bikes, but the electrics and the, you know, engine and bits and pieces aren't as good. They're not quite up to the Japanese standards for you know, it's a Korean bike. So the GV250, I ended up trying to turn it into like a bobber rat bike type thing, and I love that little bike. It was so cool, but so underpowered. Like, it was pushing 120 on the highway at best, revving its little guts out. So that bike I sold recently as well, and after that I bought my my second Blackbird. So now this is my main bike that I have now, that you've seen on a few of my videos if you've seen them. I have a CBR 1100XX Super Blackbird. It's a 2011 model. Love the bike. Love, like, it's had a few little niggly things, but overall it's just been a great bike. And again, I'm so surprised at how cheap you can buy these iconic bike. Some people, I love my Blackbird, and everyone who's got one like just loves it. Really hard to keep your license on, but everyone loves their Blackbird. That I did have for a little while was the bike that I've had my crash on. It was a scooter. It was a SYM Firenze GTS250, 2006 model, and it was a bargain, like a super bargain for a maxi scooter. And it had a few things that like I said, the throttle tube needed changing, the lights weren't working properly, the tacho wasn't working. I fixed all those things. I did, you know, I brought the lights back a little bit with cleaning the lenses. I did a whole bunch of stuff like that. And it, yeah, I just had it back on the road when I crashed it, and it's now gone out of my life as well. So guys, I'm back onto my Blackbird. It's my one bike that I have. I'm going to probably stick with that one bike now for a while. I do love it, and I can't fault it really. I can't fault it. It is a very heavy bike, and I can't keep up with the sporty guys on the mountains, but I'm not even trying. So I don't want to try to keep up with people. I just want to ride where I'm comfy, and the Blackbird does that for me. So that's my bikes. 13 years seems like, wow, such a long time. But I have owned some great bikes and have learned an awful lot through the Hyosungs. So that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions about any of those bikes. Please share with me your video of the bikes you've owned. I really love hearing about all the different models and how you've progressed through the models, and etc, etc. The thing for me is I'm thinking about going back a class from my Blackbird, or back down the power range, because it's a weapon and I don't really need that. So I'm don't know many guys who have done that, but if you're one of those, let me know, because I'd love to hear your experiences. Okay, bye.